This is from NorthJersey.com. The paper, one of the papers of record in North Jersey and Teaneck, and the headline is Sunday Protest in Teaneck Targets Sale of Homes in West Bank Settlements. And it's written by Scott Fallon and Dina Yellen, and it was published at 1 o'clock today and updated at 8:50 today, just a short while ago. And here we go, this photo, there's 28, 28 photos. There were 16 earlier when I looked at it. This is can you stop scrolling for a moment? Just want to say the protest outside Keter Torah in Teaneck, a protest outside Keter Torah in Teaneck, where a real estate event is promoting sales of properties in Israel and in the occupied West Bank. Okay. And you'll see many Palestinian flags on the quote-unquote sleep. You see, it's called a quiet suburb. I disagree, but because we were making noise on that corner every week. Somebody was. Teaneck. The Palestinian-Israeli conflict found its way to this quiet suburb Sunday as thousands of protesters marched across town and demonstrated at a synagogue where a company was pitching real estate deals in Israel and the occupied West Bank. Well, they put it there. They listened to me. Mm-hmm. Protesters gathered at the Teaneck Armory. That's where we held our vigils, and they're still holding vigils on a weekly basis, anti-war vigils. Gathered at the Teaneck Armory on the north end of town and marched about a mile to Congregation Keter Torah, where the My Home in Israel real estate company was providing information on how to buy property. Among those properties were some in West Bank settlements that U.S. policy has long considered illegal. The protesters arrived at the synagogue shortly after 1:30 p.m. Wow, what a scene. Look at that.
Yes, a lot of people.
The road was just filled right across from one side of the street to the other. Look at that. Free Palestine from genocidal occupation. Look at Free Palestine. Resistance is delicious. With the slice of watermelon there. Mm-hmm. And for anybody who doesn't know, the slice of watermelon replaced the Palestinian flag for a time when Israel wouldn't allow the Palestinians to fly the Palestinian flag. And the slice of watermelon was used because you can see it's got red, black, white, and green. So that's why the use of watermelon. Thousands were on hand to protest a private event at Keter Torah Synagogue in Teaneck, where potential real estate investors could meet with real estate agents from Israel. Sunday, March 10th, 2024. Protesters said they were selling stolen land. Judah Engelmeyer, not shown, a spokesman for the synagogue, said no laws were being broken, and if there were, they would not hold the event. They would not host the event. Mm-hmm. Sounds like some of the lies we've been told by Israel since the beginning of October, and well before then.
Right, they've always got some kind of Hasbro answer to things.
Yes. In the morning, Teaneck police erected barriers on all local roads surrounding the synagogue for at least half a mile and barred parking on many others from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Dozens of local police and sheriff's officers lined up outside the synagogue shortly after 11 a.m. Quote, "At the very least, I hope this raises awareness," said Ahmed Obidat of Patterson, one of the first protesters to arrive, shortly before noon. Quote, "They are selling stolen land. Nobody is superior and should get special treatment. End quote. Metal barriers were erected on both sides of Raymer Avenue as security guards stood at the entrance of the synagogue's parking lot to examine bags. Security officers also opened trunks and checked under vehicles with a rolling mirror. Anticipating troubles, are we? Yeah.
I'll let you move down.
Go back a minute. Yeah, there you go. Oops. Okay. Yeah, I just read the caption was just read in the article, so I don't need to read that again.
Okay.
But there's a big crowd there. Some supporters of Israel criticized protesters, calling it a pro-Hamas event. But they have to stop sounding that note. How is this a pro-Hamas event? It's saying that land was stolen from the West Bank and should not be sold to people in the United States or in Canada, for that matter. They just keep sounding the same note. Ding, ding, ding.
Ding,
Hamas,
ding, ding.
Hamas, 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 Hamas.
That's all they've got.
Yeah, that's all. And they don't even have that anymore, I guess. But they think it still works. The demonstration is a, quote, cynical attempt to target a religious institution under false pretenses as part of a coordinated and malicious campaign to harass Teaneck's Jewish community, said Yigal Gross, a spokesman for the Bergen County Jewish Action Committee.
Oh,
Yeah, well, I mean, as Greg said, that's all they got.
exactly.
A woman driving past the synagogue and the protesters rolled down her window and sang the familiar Beatles chorus, "All you need is love." Yeah, well, love would help. Shortly after, a man who drove past yelled out at protesters, "Die, die, die."
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah, thank you for being so peaceful and accepting and understanding. While the protest was largely nonviolent, there were some skirmishes. A man carrying an Israeli flag walked through a crowd of pro-Palestinian protesters. A protester grabbed the flag out of his hand and tossed it to the ground. Police intervened and escorted the man out of the area. I'm not sure which man that was, but probably the one carrying an Israeli flag. Some pro-Palestinian participants, the reason I say that is it says a protester grabbed the flag out of his hand, but didn't say a female, male, didn't describe the protester. So I'm assuming the grammar of the sentence means that they escorted the man carrying an Israeli flag out of the crowd. But I don't know for sure. Some pro-Palestinian participants tossed water and plastic water bottles at some cars exiting the synagogue. A man whose car was hit with a bottle rolled down the window and yelled, quote, "Israel is going to expletive you." Well, these people are so nice. Their language. A few water bottles were thrown at a small group of counter-protesters standing near the synagogue's entrance holding Israeli flags as they exchanged barbs with pro-Palestinian protesters across Raymer Avenue, while a dozen police officers stood between them. At least one bottle was hurled back. Why don't you tell us what was going on inside?
Right.
The seeds of the protest began last month when Teaneck resident and my friend, Rich Siegel, a Jewish man and outspoken critic of the Israeli government, my friend who also said he would be my Valentine, A Jewish man and outspoken critic of the Israeli government criticized the event at a township council meeting in a video that went viral on social media and already has more than 500,000 views on X, the website formerly known as Twitter. Inside, okay, here we go. Inside the synagogue, things were calm. Representatives at booths offering legal advice, moving assistance, or mortgages had large bowls filled with free chocolates. Below oversized signs that said, quote, looking to move to Israel, unquote. A smiling Gidon Katz, CEO of IMP Group, which was running the event, was busy greeting participants. Quote, business has been great, he said. I don't know what's motivating people's decision to want to come, but there's no question that we've had increased interest, end quote. The real estate event featured 35 vendors and advertised more than 100 projects. Katz emphasized that the fair was strictly an, quote, an educational event, unquote, aimed at helping people who want to move to Israel or purchase real estate there, and that no sales transactions were taking place at the venue. Moti Ben Yitzchak, who was staffing a table that provided information about moving to Ashkelon, a coastal city in southern Israel, boasted that his booth was so popular he ran out of brochures. Quote, I had a big stack of them this morning, and now I'm all out, he said at around 4:30 p.m. And this photo was of a rabbi and imam, longtime New Jersey friends, calling for respect and understanding during the conflict. Oh, that was from November 3rd. It had nothing to do.
Were they brochures or was it toilet paper?
No, I guess that's why only Jews were allowed in to inquire.
But they said in another article, there were the people that were running it were saying that it was open to everybody.
Yeah, well, I guess we don't know for sure. But in the one one scene from Canada showed a Palestinian man or a man wearing a hat with a pro-Palestinian symbol on it was not allowed entry. So,
Right.
I think we're getting conflicting points of view. But well, if you're Jewish, you can move to Israel and become a citizen right away. Isn't that right?
Exactly. But if you're not Jewish, then who knows if you'll ever.
Yeah, so you would think that it was biased, if nothing else, a biased event. At around 5 p.m., security personnel in the synagogue told the event participants they had to wait inside the temple until it was safe for them to leave. Protesters could be seen marching in front of the temple, and police lined the street. Those protesters were out there a long time. Give them credit.
Exactly.
These reporters aren't doing that. They were there from like 12 noon until 5 at least.
Mm-hmm.
5 hours of protesting because they believe passionately that no stolen land should be sold.
No.
And they don't have that. These companies don't have the right to offer that.
No, they don't, and
because it doesn't belong.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you there. Yeah, because they don't have the right to get this. What does international law mean?
Well, that's a subject for another day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what does it mean, and what should it mean?
Mm-hmm.
With the state of Israel right now, it means almost nothing. Adina Abramoff of Teaneck said the real estate event was, quote, very informative, unquote, and said the protesters were, quote, misguided, unquote, about what it was about.
How were they misguided? There's properties that are being offered for sale, and some of them are located right there in the West Bank, and they're located in territory that under international law is Palestinian territory.
Yeah, I guess where she might be, we don't know if any sales were made, but even if they weren't made, if contact information is taken, if discussions took place, and you say, well, if you're interested, give me a call, and even if the call comes tomorrow or 10 days from now, it's still part of the same process. Even if the transactions weren't completed today on site in the temple, if they're completed down the road, it's the same principle at play.
Yes, it is. They're offering them somebody else's property or territory.
Yes. Quote, the fact that SWAT teams have to be called out to protect us at a synagogue event is very sad, she said. But Teaneck resident Adam Weissman, someone else I know, of Northern New Jersey Voice for Peace, said he was, quote, outraged that such an event, quote, featuring stolen land, unquote, took place in a synagogue. Quote, it's clearly in violation of a core tenet of Judaism, unquote. Yeah, I mean, even if, again, that no sales were made, the fact that the brochures were advertising this and giving people advice is still contributing to a process of selling or featuring stolen land. On Friday, Township Manager Dean Kaczynski said in a letter to residents that officials were preparing a plan that focused on, quote, maintaining public order, safeguarding the rights of peaceful demonstrators, and ensuring the protection of the synagogue and its visitors, unquote. A security guard stands in front of an entrance to Raymer Synagogue, where it's not Raymer, it's Keter Torah Synagogue, where a private event for Israeli real estate agents was being held Sunday, March 10th, 2024, in Teaneck. And it says, property closed, private event, no trespassing, private property, people, bags, and vehicles are subject to search, security check. Yeah, I guess, I wouldn't go on that property if I was not invited. All right. Kaczynski said he had received multiple requests to shut down the event because of allegations that it violates international law, but that local officials have no power to cancel a private event that doesn't violate local ordinances. But fair housing laws, is that a local ordinance?
Yeah, I don't know how he's twisting it around.
I think he means, Teaneck ordinances.
Right.
If they're parking, blocking the street with their parked vehicles or something, or noise levels are too high. Although, that's how I'm reading it. It's very narrow, very narrow.
Right.
Although Kaczynski said that the real estate company has held such sessions at Teaneck synagogues and elsewhere across the U.S. and Canada for years, the Israel-Hamas war, the Israeli genocide of the Palestinian people, my editorial comment, has stoked tensions and heightened scrutiny of such presentations. Good, as it should.
Exactly. And a lot of times people didn't know about the events either. Well, but the first time 7 years ago was the first time somebody had protested this type of an event when they had first read about it in the Jerusalem Post. But before then, people never saw anything about it. It was kept really hush hush.
Yeah, I wonder how many properties have been sold through this method up to the current set of sessions and at synagogues in New Jersey, New York, and Canada.
Right, and that's what we see a lot in these settlements. When we hear the people start talking, we're like, oh, the person's from New York, they're from New Jersey, Staten Island. You know, you just you hear that accent.
What accent, D? You don't have an accent.
I know that accent.
Representatives for Keter Torah said last week that the sessions were to discuss, quote, tax and financial implications of buying real estate abroad, and that no sales would take place. Yes, but as we've said, the sale doesn't have to take place today in order for the laws to be violated. All right, let's go.
And like we said, it wasn't open to everybody else.
No, I want to read the caption here. Yeah, can you scroll down just a bit?
Okay.
Please? Because this is an interesting photo, and that looks like that's a brochure in his hand. I want to read the caption. No genocide. A pro-Palestinian demonstrator, left, as if we couldn't tell, and a pro-Israeli demonstrator, right, were having a peaceful discussion until others joined the conversation and threats were made to the man on the right, and police had to escort him out of the area. And I'm sure there were no threats. Well, there were threats from people passing by in cars. Die, die, die. Okay. All right, let's go here. 2 Muslim civil rights organizations called on the New Jersey Attorney General to investigate whether the event was discriminatory, saying it was marketed only to Jews. That drew a sharp rebuke from organizers who said the accusation was inflammatory and admission was open to anyone. They didn't say admission. Okay? They said it was marketed only to Jews. They didn't say it, but it's good that I hope that the New Jersey Attorney General is going to investigate. Members of Keter Torah said last week that they stood by their decision to hold the event in their house of worship. Some Jewish residents said they would attend just to show solidarity. Mike Kirshner, an attendee of the real estate event, pointed to the protesters and said, quote, "I'm sure that was good for business," unquote. Okay. Israeli right-wing leaders have called for expanding settlements in the West Bank for nationalist and religious reasons, citing the Jewish people's historical claims to the land. Last month, Secretary of State Antony Blinken reiterated long-standing U.S. policy against the settlements, many built on seized Palestinian land, after plans to build 3,300 new homes surfaced. Boy, the U.S. is really effective at scolding Israel, aren't they?
Exactly.
I mean, U.S. says blah, 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 it's illegal, and then there are plans to build 3,300 more new homes. And U.S. says don't invade Rafah, and Israel says we're going to invade Rafah. Be more careful about the civilians you target, so the U.S. says to Israel, and then Israel just completely ignores that. A local group in Teaneck that advocates for the Jewish community turned the protest into a fundraising tool for Israel In the face of the, quote, intimidation campaign by Israel's enemies.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so hyper polarized. The Bergen County Jewish Action Committee launched a fundraising effort in which for every protester who attended, a donation was made to American Friends of Magen David Adom, the Red Cross equivalent in Israel, which saves the lives of Jews, Muslims, and Christians in Israel every day. Meanwhile, my comments, the IDF, IOF, and their bombs keep taking out hospitals and ambulances from the Red Crescent in Palestine, in Gaza. I mean, wow. As of 6:30 p.m. on Sunday, more than $14,500 had been raised for MDA, said Emma Horowitz. And Kevin Wexler also contributed to the story. I think his photos were used. What do you think there? Greg, you've been quiet.
For them to sit there and think that they're entitled to land that is not theirs, homes that's not theirs, it's just insane. It's like, it's just very insane how they feel so entitled to something that has never once been theirs.
No, that's right. And something that they have had to steal in order to build upon. And obviously that's not a concern of the people inside this temple, or at least it's not an expressed concern. They say nothing illegal went on. It was not discriminatory. Do you believe that? I don't believe that.
I don't, because if you would have seen other people there, I mean, it was all set for Jewish people to move to what they call Israel, which is occupied Palestine. Mm-hmm. But you don't see it saying open to public.
No. But I'm really impressed by the numbers that turned out. Teaneck is not that far from New York. It's right next to the George Washington Bridge. There are a lot of towns like on the Hudson River, not far from there. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to know where everybody came from. I know the North Jersey Jewish Voice for Peace is part of that group in that area. I assume American Muslims for Palestine were there. People from peace organizations in North Jersey were there. This is a huge, huge turnout. Very impressive. We'll see where it goes from here, right?
It's a matter of talking about it.
Yeah, and if the Attorney General actually investigates what's going on, if the local residents who organized the protest have something to say about it, I'm sure this is not this whole issue has not been put to rest yet. There'll be more.
Right, and they're investigating it. Different groups, different attorneys are going to look at it and see where it goes.
That would be like if somebody stole my land and tried to sell it as if it was their own.
Oh, exactly.
Like I would be up there in arms.
You have go ahead, Dean.
And you'd be the one to be called a terrorist when you're the one that's defending your own land.
Has a little bit of a feel of like the Wild Wild West, right?
Yeah, it does.
A little bit of the feel of the person in the chair on the front porch saying, "Stay off my land," But if it's Palestinians' land, nobody seems to care. I shouldn't say nobody, but these people don't seem to care.
No.
You know, we want our home. Well, yeah, they want to be friends with Daniela Wise. Yeah, that's what they want.
I'm sure she's got everything set up very well for them.
Yeah, yeah. See, they've seen her on video, and they